people don't realize how many Black businesses are out there. And I say that all the time. People don't know what they don't know. Our focus is highlighting and supporting Black-owned businesses, but we do that in different ways. So whether that's through content creation, so you see on social media, that's probably where I started, right? And so you see a lot of what I do there, right? Going to businesses, actually supporting them, getting to know the owners, getting to know the people who actually, go to these businesses. Black-owned with Bex is going to be a movement.
My working professionals, creators, entrepreneurs, I need y'all to tap in. Listen, if you're tired of fighting distractions at home or bouncing around from coffee shop to coffee shop, then Bamboo has exactly what you need to be able to lock in and get your work done. In addition to having flexible meeting rooms and event space, they've got a community that actually supports you while you're in the building. So if you're ready to lock in some space right now, guess what? I got you. If you head over to bamboocowork.com right now and use the promo code BlackFriday20, you'll get 20% off any of your rental bookings. Don't waste any more time. Head over to bamboocowork.com and take care of that. Use that promo code. I'll be seeing you at a Bamboo location sometime soon. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the episode. What up, though, Black Fridays family? Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Before we get into today's episode, hit that like button, subscribe, comment, share a video to family, friends, and loved ones so that we can keep this thing going. Now that we got that business out of the way, I got somebody in the building who is on a similar mission as Black Fridays, being intentional in exposing you to Black-owned businesses and Black spaces. Miss Rebecca, aka Black-owned with Bex. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that you reached out and that we could connect in this way, for real.
Absolutely. Yeah. What took you so long to come on the podcast?
Honestly, timing. I would literally say it's timing, just like making sure aligning our schedules. But no, I'm really happy to be here. I was like, when you reached out, I was like, yes, okay, finally we could make this happen. So no, thank you once again for having me.
For sure. And it's great to be able to meet in this capacity because I've been following your page for probably a couple years now.
Yeah.
And just being able to see the content and the intentionality behind it. And then also the fact that you're based here in Michigan, the Metro Detroit area, like that was all the more important. I'm just like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I got to be able to connect with her at some point in time in the future. Similar missions, similar goals. So, figure out what that could look like. So now the stars have aligned and we're here.
Absolutely. Yes. So I'm really excited to be here today. One of my favorite things is connecting with like-minded individuals whenever I'm out and about in Detroit or in Michigan. I love connecting with people. So I'm really happy that we can start taking some of these internet connections and actually making them real life. So yeah.
Exactly. And what you are in the midst of doing, and we'll talk a little bit more about that, but We'd love to be able to set the stage with you to introduce us to what Black-owned with Bex is, because from the outside looking in, I would have been able to look at your page and thought it was more so influencer based, but it's so much more than that in terms of being able to present different Black-owned products, services, spaces to people in that capacity. So we'd love to be able to hear from you more about what you have built with Black-owned with Bex.
Yeah, absolutely. So Black-owned with Bex is essentially a community. We're a space that really focuses on highlighting, supporting, and, just making sure that we can make buying Black a lifestyle, right? I think a lot of times people think that it's not attainable. And so when I first started this page, it was really just about making sure that we could share the knowledge, right? Because people don't know what they don't know. And it's just branched from there. So like I said, our focus is highlighting and supporting Black-owned businesses, but we do that in different ways. So whether that's through content creation, so you see on social media, that's probably where I started, right? And so you see a lot of what I do there, right? Going to businesses, actually supporting them, getting to know the owners, getting to know the people who actually, go to these businesses. Another part of it is actually bringing other people to support Black-owned businesses. A lot of times, people think, okay, I did my job, I went in, I supported this Black business once, and then they never go back, right? And so how do you encourage people to keep going back? How do you encourage people to make buying Black actually sustainable and something that can actually happen within their life, right? And so that's my goal. Overall goal is to make sure that people can make buying Black a lifestyle for themselves and just presenting ways for them to do so. Yeah, I would say that's overarching. That's what Black Owned Bex is.
For sure. And how did you end up going down this pathway? Because Black owned businesses obviously are in the minority. How was it? When did you kind of see that pivot or that light to see, I see a gap and I want to be able to help fill that gap to direct people to more Black owned businesses?
Yeah. So I would say, like, if we start from the very beginning, my family, they've always been huge supporters of Black owned businesses. Like, and I didn't realize this until I started doing what I'm doing, that like this has been something ingrained in me for a really long time. So I always want to just start off by saying that my grandmother, my mom, my dad, like all my family really, like if there was a Black owned business, we're going to put our money there. If there's a venue, right, when we're having a party and we know it's owned by a Black family, we're going there, right? And so that was kind of already instilled in me without even really realizing. And then what really got me going was, it was probably around like 2019. It was before the pandemic, but this is when we were starting to see a lot of people get removed from businesses, or like, you know, Black people getting treated wrong, right? And we kind of felt like there was no way out, right? There was the Starbucks situation, right, where two guys had gotten arrested. Yep. And so it just kept going and going, right? And like the frustrating thing for me as an individual was, how is it that like we, you know, these businesses do what they do, they treat us like we do, and we feel like we still have to go there, right? There's got to be another way. And so I started doing research, right? Just for myself, I started looking at Black-owned products. So started with hair care, right? Hair was a big thing for me. I was like, I know I can find Black-owned hair care. So started buying that in college, right? And was just like, okay, this is going to be my focus. And then I started sharing it on my personal page, right? I would just be like, hey, this is a Black-owned business I found today, or here's something that I found, and you guys should check it out, right? And people loved it. And I was like, well, my page is getting overrun with Black-owned businesses all the time, so how do I pivot from that? And I was like, you know what? People don't know what they don't know, so let's start a page just sharing what you find, right? Everything that you find, just share it, right? And so it just started like that. It was just a hobby passion project. I was like, I just wanted people to know what I found, right? People seemed interested, and I just went with it, right? And for me, the goal was providing a space, for people to be able to find these things easier. So that's where I started. Didn't know if it was going to go anywhere. Honestly, I stopped for 2 years. I had just started working full time. I was a master's student, and I was like, well, I was overwhelmed. And so I took a break. And then literally somebody, his name is actually Mr. Buy Black Detroit. I believe that's his name.
Familiar with the page.
Yeah, that's his page. He reached out to my personal page, right? I hadn't been on the Black Owned Bex page for years at this point. He reached out to my personal page. He said, hey, I saw what you were doing there. Don't stop. You really should keep going. And I was like, you know what? This is the push that I needed, because I had been thinking about it, but I was like, nobody really cares, right? And I went for it. And ever since then, that was about 5 years ago now. And now we're here. So yeah, that's really where we started and how we are here now.
That's dope. Yeah. That they were able to help you see the light and then being able to get back in the game, because like the content creation space is not for the weak. Like you really got to have a love of the game, or you got to really be have a goal that you're trying to accomplish, because
and
like
it can't be numbers.
No, it really can't. It really can't, because you call them vanity metrics. So like the vanity metric, that's one thing, but like you really got to have something that you're truly trying to do, change people's lives, or make X amount of dollar, whatever case may be. You got to be dedicated to the process, because if not, like it's easy to just be like, I'm good on this, because the amount of work that you got to put in.
Oh yeah. And so that, like, I think it was really crazy, because like I said, there were a lot of people who would tell me this, right? My family members would be like, oh, are you going to get back to Black Owned Bex? My friends would say the same thing. And I'm like, whatever. And I think it really took a stranger, right? Somebody who I have no connections with to actually say something for me to realize, like, okay, like this is actually making an impact, and you're actually doing the things that you said. This was the point of the page, right? So like, keep doing that. So that felt really good. But yeah, that's why we're here.
That's dope.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know this until we started until we started talking before we started recording, that you were not from Michigan, because I know, knowing your page to be Michigan-based page, you're actually from Brooklyn. So Brooklyn is in the house.
Yeah.
And I I would love to know you coming to Michigan, being in the Detroit area, and being able to kind of like, and I know Brooklyn is pretty black, but just like the experiencing Detroit firsthand and like the blackness of it. What was that experience like for you?
I interned with my job 2 years before that. So technically I've been coming to Michigan for the last 9 years, close to 10 years. And it's been really amazing seeing how it continues to grow and how Black businesses continue to thrive here. Like, I remember my 21st birthday, I actually went to the kitchen. Like, that was where I celebrated my 21st birthday.
With Q?
Yeah, with Q.
Yeah, okay.
The kitchen with Q. And so literally it was amazing to see how just that block started to transform, right? Like, I didn't know much about what was going on there. And just like, I'm just loving seeing how Detroit is growing, right? I'm loving seeing how the Black businesses continue to thrive there. I feel like every time I step into Detroit, I'm finding out about a new Black-owned business. And to me, that's one of the things that feels like home, right? I grew up in a predominantly Black neighborhood in Brooklyn, grew up in basically East Flatbush. Like, it's very much so mom and pop shops everywhere. So like seeing that begin to thrive here and seeing that continue to thrive here has been really amazing. So I'm really loving it. I think not just seeing what it is, but seeing what it's continuing to be. I really, really love that about Detroit.
That's what's up. And then any parallels to like where you grew up in Detroit?
Yeah. So I actually say like Detroit is the middle ground that I was looking for because I grew up in New York, so very heavy in the city life, all of that. Went to school in North Carolina, so very much so country. Things are closed, Bible Belt. Things are closing at 8 p.m. So to come here and have the best of both worlds, I like to call it, right? I have the experience of that city life here in Detroit, but I still have the space and the quietness that comes with being in the suburbs sometimes. And I love that balance. I think that Michigan has a really great balance just in general with having that city life, but then also like I can go to the park and I can be in nature and I can do these different, I can do so many different things just within that space. So I really enjoy that about Detroit and just Michigan in general. But yeah, definitely in Detroit.
Dope. So I'm going to take a pause in the action because I want to introduce you to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays.
Okay.
So some of the greatest rappers that we've gotten have come from your neighborhood, from your area. So feel free to go ahead and give us some bars whenever you're ready. You can give us 8, 6, 16, whatever you got in the chamber. You got some poems. Okay. You want to sing, dance, however you want to express yourself.
Okay, this is different. All right. I didn't think you were going to ask me this one. I was like, okay, I know he asked different people, but okay. Let's see. This is hard. I feel so put on the spot right now.
You want to get out of jail free card?
Yeah, what's the get out of jail free card? Let me hear
freestyle. I asked you a random assortment of questions, which is what Freestyle Fridays really is.
Okay.
So yeah. All right, bet.
Absolutely. Because I'm like, I might be from Brooklyn, but the girl cannot.
We've got to get the bars with Bex.
Yeah. Honestly,
coming soon.
Hey, maybe we'll do like an open mic night, right? Like bars with Bex. That'd be dope. I'm gonna put that in there.
Add that to the list for sure.
Collab event. That's what we'll do.
There we go. So I'll do this one a little bit differently, and I'll ask you your favorite Black-owned X, and then you will let us know what it is. So, what is your favorite Black-owned brand?
My favorite Black-owned brand? Okay, I would actually say it's Buttered. I actually brought you something, if you don't mind. Yes,
okay.
I did.
All right, I gotta see this. We love gifts.
But yes, I brought you something just as a thank you for having me on the podcast today.
You. I gotta open up, just make sure you ain't want no styrofoam in here. So this is Buttered, and
that's their Helly Jelly
non-petroleum. Okay.
Yeah.
Dope. And then this is the body cream.
Yeah. So they're one of my favorite brands. Honestly, probably my favorite because of the fact that it was one of the first brands I ever talked about on Black Woman Bex. I have been following her since we went to college together, right? Wow. We didn't know each other in college. I just remember her making her butters, and you could go buy it at a pop-up shop every once in a while, or like she'll ship it to you. And just watching her business grow has been amazing. And just now the connection that I have with her as a founder, we actually started our own venture where we create spaces for creators and founders to get together and just be. It's called Founders Unplugged. But just everything that she's done with her brand, it has, one, healed my skin personally. I've seen the effect that it has on other people. But yeah, one of my favorite brands now, but I'll tell you about the products really quickly.
Okay.
Helly Jelly is their non-toxic version of petroleum jelly. So this is your replacement for Vaseline, any sort of petroleum jelly that you use. If you put it on your face or your lips or what have you, that's the replacement right there.
Okay.
I'm an absolute fan of it. I put so many people onto it. My mom is obsessed with it. My grandmother's obsessed with it. Like it's like that. And then the butter, like I said, it has definitely helped heal my skin personally. I use it all year round. It's not oily. And so I just wanted to give that to you, allow you to try it. I hope you like it.
Yes, I'm definitely gonna try it. I know the wife gonna be happy about it because she loves stuff like this. So yeah, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely. But yeah, so I would say Buttered is my favorite Black-owned business. One of my favorites. Yeah.
Okay. And what would you say is your favorite Black-owned third space?
Ooh. Okay. So this one is. That's hard because the one that I would say is my favorite, they unfortunately just closed. It's called Someday Detroit. They were an art and culinary art space. They an art gallery and culinary art space, and they essentially put so many young artists on the map, right? They gave them a space to showcase their work, but then also had really cool food creations, and they just did a lot for the community. They did different cooking classes and just all the things that they did, artist talks, book, what do they call them?
Releases.
Yeah, book releases. Just whatever you can kind of think of that really brings the community out. They were doing that. And every time I walked in, I felt welcomed, even from the first time I walked in there. So I would definitely say that was one of my favorite third spaces.
Dope.
Yeah.
Dope. And speaking of books, favorite Black author or book written by a Black author?
Ooh, okay. So my favorite book written by a Black author it actually just... it dropped it's actually their debut novel. It's by Deesha Philyaw. I hope I'm saying her name right. But it's basically called The Secret Lives of Church Ladies.
Okay.
It's a short book. It has just enough mess and just enough drama, but I really liked it because I think it speaks to just sometimes how people put on a show for so many different reasons, right? People have all these thoughts, and sometimes you never know what people are going through. So I would say that's has been my favorite book so far. And then if I had to give a second one, it would definitely be Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan of that series. I'm a huge fan of Kennedy Ryan in general, but I really love that book. I think it's I'm a big fan of romance, and I think that book just really spoke to just like what love can really be. So I would say those are my two favorites.
Okay.
Yeah.
And favorite Black-owned coffee shop in Detroit. You got to be in Detroit.
Oh, that's a hard one. Okay, because I love so many of them. I think I would say that my favorite so far would have to be the shop experience.
Where is that? On 6 Mile?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
But it's the shop experience. Every time I walk in there, I don't know, I just always leave feeling so much better than when I walked in. And so I just really enjoy that space. Danya, the owner, she's so sweet.
Okay.
I just love seeing how she interacts with not just myself, right? I love having conversation with her, but I loved watching how she interacts with her other customers, right? She makes everybody feel heard, even if she's trying to have 3 different conversations at once. And so I really appreciated that. And, I went in the first time, I was having a really bad day. I was not having a great day. And I just remember how she just uplifted my spirits, and just the space uplifted my spirits. So I would say that's my favorite.
That's what's up. And last but not least, favorite Black-owned restaurant.
Ooh, my favorite black-owned restaurant. Okay, I can say this with certainty. Savannah Blue. I love Savannah Blue.
Good old Savannah Blue.
Yes. If I had to pick a black-owned restaurant in Detroit, it would definitely be Savannah Blue. I love their risotto. I was literally thinking about, like, if they were open today, I probably would have ordered something to go since we're so close. But I love Savannah Blue. I love their food. I always have a great experience when I'm there. I'm always treated really great when I go there. So, and I'm obsessed with the food. So, yeah.
That's what's up.
My favorite. Yeah.
Well, thank you for partaking in Freestyle Fridays.
Absolutely.
Black owned edition.
Absolutely. I'm gonna make sure next time I'm gonna have my eight bars. I'm gonna have my 60 bars. Yeah. I'm gonna have my bars and Becks ready.
For sure.
Yes.
So when you embarked on this journey in terms of being able to expose people to more black owned businesses, spaces, and develop the brand Black Owned with Becks, how did content creation play a role in that, in the sense of, was the goal to be able to creatively get that message out through content, or was that just the medium that you chose to do it in, and you were, like, for lack of better terms, you would have did the work anyway, just maybe in a different way?
Yeah. Honestly, I think I just used the most convenient thing for me. Funny enough, I don't really talk about it much, but I used to blog a lot.
Wow. Okay.
And I had actually started a STEM blog, right? Because I'm an engineer by trade. And I called them my STEMfluencers, right? And so I would highlight women who were doing their thing in STEM. So like just I needed that, right? As somebody who, I didn't see myself, right? A lot of times when I stepped into engineering spaces, or many spaces when it comes to STEM. And so I just wanted to provide that space. So I started off blogging that. And then, like I said, I started sharing Black owned products, through social media. Sorry, I hit the mic. Through social media. But then I would also, blog about it, right?
Okay.
But the blog fell off because I didn't have time for it. And social media just became the most convenient thing. So like Instagram specifically. But yeah, I think it would have, if it didn't happen this way, it would have happened some other way, for sure.
Yeah. And Black Owned with Becks has turned more into just a social media account because you've had the opportunity to partner with different people, do brand deals, sponsorships, etc. So could you talk about how those things came about and how you approached them, and I guess how you've matured in those opportunities throughout the years? Because, you start with such a noble cause, obviously, and still is noble, but just in the sense of, I want to be able to create this awareness around this important thing to me, and then it turned into a business. So could you kind of talk about that process?
Yeah, honestly, I think that was the hardest thing for me, was turning it into a business, because it was something that I was passionate about, and I didn't want to lose the purpose of what Black Owned with Becks was. And so that was definitely a difficult thing, a transition for me, to go from content creation to working with these deals, working with people and partnering and all of that. And so I think I would say I run my business maybe a little bit differently than most people. Because I do like to kind of meet people where they're at, right? And I think that that's always been the biggest thing for me with Black Owned with Becks is I never want to feel like I'm exploiting a business. I never want to feel like I'm taking advantage of a business. But I also want to make sure that everybody who comes to my page knows that whatever I talk about, I actually am putting my name behind, right? And like there's a reason for that. So I battled a bunch of different things when it came to that. And before I keep going, I just want to make sure I have the question correct. You want to know how I transitioned into the business, right?
Yes. Yep.
So basically I started off by, people would reach out to me and they'd like a video, and I'd be like, yeah, if you like the video, you can pay me $50 for the video, right? You can post it on your page, pay me $50 or whatever. People would reach out and they'd be like, hey, can you create this content for me? And I'd be like, okay. But then I was like,
$50 is crazy, by the way. But continue.
No, it was actually insane. No, I can tell you, for the first several months of realizing that, I can make money from content, people were snatching. They were snatching the stuff from me, but it's okay. It's okay. I was learning. Didn't really know if I wanted to be selling content or doing any of these types of things in the first place. So, just was trying to figure it out. From there, I realized like, maybe my goal isn't to do content, right? Like I started thinking about what is the purpose of Black Owned with Bex, right? So, and social media wasn't it. So why would I make my business about social media, right? So what I started to do was what I like to call last call. So I would essentially bring people together and we'd go to a certain business. So I was like, I think that's the way that I can, start this business was by working with people, creating events and, creating experiences while still putting people onto Black businesses. And so that was really where I was like, okay, I think I can make this work. And so from there, literally, I just started testing the waters. Honestly, I started, like I said, I did the events. I would sell, my content if people liked it and they wanted it. I'd, sell them the rights to the content from time to time. But then I realized that I wanted more. And so in that, right, I was like, I can help people with their content, right? I can help people, maybe I'm not necessarily only doing content, but like, how can I help them, right? So I actually work with businesses who need the help, right? Whether it's content creation, whether it's creating their, content schedule, I do that as well. So I started to build on what Black Owned with Bex was. And so it took, like I said, it took some trial and error, but I realized that, I can help people with their content. From time to time, even though I don't really do it as often, I will absolutely, if people want to pay me for content, I'll absolutely do it. If it aligns with Black Owned with Bex, and then also if I know that I'm gonna help them as a business, right? And then mainly it's getting people out to these businesses. So events have been like one of my favorite things, and I think what I'm going to move towards as I start to build Black Owned with Bex more, and maybe hopefully transition out of my 9-to-5 would be focused on events and curating experiences and working with brands and businesses to get people to their business, right? And so whether that is, I'm partnering with a brick and mortar to do a certain event, right, to get people there, or I'm, setting up an event and having these brands as sponsors, or, because I enjoy doing that as well. Like one thing I really like is putting the product in people's hands, because I realize that people love free stuff, but then that's how you get people to buy, right? And so like when I do my events, I always have things like giveaways, right? And whether that's a raffle or people are leaving with something, I want you to leave with a Black owned, with something from a Black owned business. So really that's where I'm heading towards, really, is just events and then helping people build their social media awareness in different ways. So yeah.
And you got a chance to go down to, I believe it was Essence Fest, and do activation?
Yes. So this was my second year doing an activation at Essence Fest. Last year, it's crazy how life kind of works. Reached out to New Voices, which is their kind of small business ventures. Reached out to them to actually sponsor a different event that I was going to do, with everything that happened with the tariffs and, Target and all the things that were happening. New Voices was like, hey, we would love to, but we have to really focus on the brands that are, whether they're in Target or what have you, and help them kind of transition, right, during this boycott, during all the things. But they were like, we love your idea so much. How would you like to bring it to Essence Fest? And I was like, no way, right? Like I couldn't believe that a deal like Essence Fest was on my vision board for 5 years down the line, right? And so it was like an opportunity dropped in my lap, and I didn't say no. I absolutely loved it last year, and they invited me to come back this year. They invited me to come back a month after 2025 Essence Fest, and they were like, we absolutely want you to be back next year to do your activation. And so we did it, and we did it bigger this year. And it was so rewarding. I loved making connections down there. I think that's another part of what I love to travel. So being able to make connections to people outside of Detroit as well has been great, because they come to Detroit, and then you build connections, even more connections that way. So but yeah, no, I loved my experience at Essence Fest. It was definitely scary. Like I think sometimes you you sell yourself short and you think like, oh, I can't really do these things, but then you realize the opportunities are put in front of you and you thrive. And so I'm learning to lean into the opportunities that I'm given and also like sit in the moment, because sometimes I'm so like, you know, just like, oh, we got to get this done, and I finally got to just, you know, focus. And Essence was, it was definitely a life-changing experience. And like I said, from what I've been doing with Essence, with Buttered, Brittany, who's the owner of Buttered, with Founders Unplugged, now that we've done that, we're actually taking that to even bigger heights, right? And so you'll start to actually see events and things coming to Detroit from our, you know, from that venture, right? And you'll start to see just not even just in Detroit, but just in other areas as well. But we're really starting to expand that. So yeah, you're gonna start to see more of Founders Unplugged as we grow. But that's really, Essence Fest really started that for us.
Yeah. And you have a special challenge going on this month right now, like currently going on present day. So could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're doing the 30 Days of Black Business Challenge. It's something that I've wanted to do since last year. I've been thinking about it since last year. And I always loved, you know, the Black Music Challenge that happens every June.
Yes.
Yes. So I always loved that. And I was like, I think that this can absolutely happen for Black-owned businesses. So I took some time, I created those prompts, and I put it out there. And it's crazy seeing how much people know. You know, I was very nervous when I put it out there, but it's really cool just seeing how many, you know, like I said, how many businesses people know, right? Right now, our count is at like 150 in the last 9 days. We're at 150 businesses that people have, you know, talked about, highlighted, or supported.
Okay.
But essentially, I created the challenge because I wanted people to start to realize that they know more Black-owned businesses than they want to give themselves credit for.
Right.
Right. A lot of people think, oh, I don't know, so that's why I don't do. And it's like, no, you do know. And I want to encourage you to do. And so starting to see people actually have the excitement about, okay, wow, I actually did know this business, or, you know, I do know this thing. And, you know, this actually is a part of my lifestyle already. Right. And give yourself credit for like making those small changes. Right. Because it doesn't happen overnight. Right. I know a lot of people think, wow, how do you know so many businesses? I did the research and I just kept going. Right. It's not just about you know, seeing one thing and stopping. It's, you know, you keep going, you keep building, right? You change a little bit at a time and you'll start to see the growth, right? I started off with hair care. Now, most of the products in my home, when it comes to household or whatever, they're Black owned.
Yeah.
You know, and you start to transition and make it a lifestyle for yourself. So the goal really is for people to, one, learn from the learn about Black-owned businesses, but also to realize like, hey, I actually know a lot, and I can actually build this lifestyle for myself, and I've been selling myself short. So yeah.
And people feel like they can't build, or it's not sustainable to be able to have a Black-owned business, I guess, driven lifestyle where you only purchase from like Black-owned or as much as you can, because obviously, you know, there's challenges to do it strictly like that. And I think Killer Mike did a episode of his show on Netflix that was kind of satirical, but talked about like, well, what if we only use Black-owned inventions and stuff like that? So, or purchase from Black-owned businesses. But how was that for you, being able to curate that lifestyle for yourself?
Yeah, it took time. And I think that that's something, you know, I think content creation is very similar, right? Or like being an influencer or being on social media, right? Excuse me. Time, patience, and consistency. Really, that's like, those are the things to make it a lifestyle for yourself. I know for me, like I said, I had started off with hair care, right? And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that they don't just have to start off, like they don't just have to buy everything, right? Like not every business is for you. And I think going in with the mindset of, hey, this business may not necessarily align with me. I don't have to put my money here, right? And that's okay, right? Like I can't support every Black-owned business, right? Like I'm, you know, I always tell people, right? Like I don't have kids, right? So there are a lot of like kids businesses. I don't know. I couldn't tell. I can tell you about them, but I've never shopped with them, right? And it doesn't align with my lifestyle, so you won't see me necessarily talking about it as much, right? And so really it's about figuring out what in your lifestyle you can change, right? And when I say you, like you yourself, not what everybody else is, you know, trending towards, not what everybody else is, you know, doing, what actually impacts you. And you'll start to realize like it becomes natural when you start to focus on things that you actually like, right? Like a lot of people think food and then they're buying all this food and it's like, I don't even like this food.
Yeah.
You know, or like they're buying a bunch of skincare products and then they have a bunch of skincare products just sitting around. You know, you got to be intentional, right?
Yeah.
And so I always encourage people, you know, when it comes to making that transition, be intentional, right? I had to be intentional, right? Like I could see a Black-owned business and want to spend the money, but I also have a budget, right? You know what I mean? And so you have to, it's really a balance. It's really a balance. And so that journey was definitely, there were some ups and downs, right? There were times where I'm like, I don't know what direction this is going to go in, right? I don't know if I'll ever actually be able to build this lifestyle for myself. Like, is this actually sustainable? And it was only until I started to realize, like, hey, you need to focus on what actually works for you that it became sustainable for me. And now it's second nature, right?
Yeah.
I think, you know, a lot of times people, you know, subscriptions are really big in my house, right? When it comes to household items. If I want to make sure that it's going to come from a Black-owned business, I make sure I have a subscription for it. That way I set it, I forget it, and I can move on with my life, right? And I do that with most of my household items now, right? You know, that the subscriptions, but also like sometimes you just got to be a little bit more on top of it than you were before, right? It can't just be like, I'm on my last roll of paper towel. I need to go to the store now, right? Or like I'm looking at the roll in my hand. You actually have to be like, how many paper towel rolls do I have? Do I need to order this now? Like, you know, and you start to learn in that way, right? That becomes your convenience, right? Oop, I'm down to 2 paper towels. I need to order. Or like, hey, I'm out of, you know, trash bags. Or I order 2 sets of trash bags. The second that first box is gone, I order the next one, right? And so you have to build your own habits too. And I made sure to start building my own habits. And, you know, also encouraging people around me to start building those habits. Because as people around you start to feel comfortable in doing that and it becomes second nature to them, it's a lot easier for you too, right? And so, yeah, so that's really how I do it. I hope I stayed on track with the question.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask you, aside from following your page, what are some cheat codes or resources that people can leverage in order to source these Black-owned products? For example, if they want to have more Black-owned stuff in their household or finding Black-owned businesses. I know it was a lady, I can't remember the name of her page, but she had created like a Black business magazine, like a digital
Addie
thing.
Rar.
And then she shut it down to focus on something else. But that's one thing that came to mind, but would love to know, like, how do you kind of source information to find some of these things?
There are some really some great content creators out there, right? And some great pages and some great blogs out there that are constantly sharing Black-owned businesses. What's his name?
Black Friday's podcast.
Yeah, but you know, exactly. Black Friday's podcast, like people like yourself. You know, Buy Black Main Street, right? He actually creates a lot of like actual blog style material, right? And there are just a lot of places and a lot of like people who do that, right? So I do use like blogs. That's how I started, right? When I wanted to look up something, people underestimate the power of a search engine, right? Yeah. I know we're trying to move away from Google, but search engines will absolutely help. Like I will literally look up Black-owned, blah, 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 blah. And yes, you do have to verify, right? Don't get me wrong. You do have to make sure.
You do.
Yeah, you definitely do, because people will lie and, you know, it will.
Busboys and Poet. Oh, my bad. I ain't mean to say that.
Because people are so full. People are always so shocked when they hear that Busboys and Poets is not Black-owned.
Right.
Like, and I'm like,
they masquerade in. But But my thing is, if you not, that's one thing. You ain't correcting nobody.
You ain't correcting anybody. Exactly.
Yeah.
And so you really have to do the research. Like, is this even Black-owned, right? But I started with search engines, just searching, looking it up. You know, Instagram, TikTok, they're great resources as well when it comes to like social media and finding Black-owned businesses. Also, take some time in the store, walk through the store. You'll be surprised that you can start to recognize like, this is actually a Black-owned business. Like we put a little flair on things that people don't really realize sometimes. And as you start to see it in store, you're like, that looks like a Black-owned business. Let me look that up.
Right.
And so walk through the aisles of your grocery store, walk through the aisles of, you know, different stores and start to look stuff up, right? Like I started doing that. I would just go to Meijer and I'd walk through an aisle. I'd be like, this is a brand I've never seen before. Let me look it up and see what's there. Like, let me see if this is a Black-owned business. So I would say those are some really important things, in search engines and yeah, doing the research. Research. Like, I'm an engineer. I grew up in a STEM family. I grew up around scientists. Research has always been the thing, right? Yeah. And so I'm always encourage people to just research. Yeah.
And do you have any thoughts on how we hold our Black businesses accountable? Because there are plenty, because as much as I love, obviously I do this for my people, my community, and Black businesses specifically, but obviously there are some that unfortunately just don't deserve or earn your time, your money, your energy, etc., and don't care to necessarily fix it. But have there been ways that you have held businesses like that accountable in terms of what they're servicing people or providing to people as products?
Absolutely. I make it a point on my page not to talk down on anybody's business. It's just something that I do for my page personally. But I am never above leaving a review.
Okay.
I'm never above sending an email. And I say that because it's important to provide that criticism, right? Because a lot of people, when they hear that I do what I do, they're like, oh, but it's so hard to support Black-owned businesses because of how they treat us, or because, and like, it becomes like they put us in a box, right? And so I never want to promote a bad, promote that stereotype. Exactly. But I think it's really important that you still provide the criticism. So I will leave a review. Like, if I'm just not impressed, I will absolutely leave a review. I also do leave reviews when I am impressed too, because I think it's also important to do that. I don't think people realize how important reviewing and sharing is to a business. So I definitely leave reviews. And I've also sent an email just saying like, hey, this is my experience, as somebody who, and I don't brag on it, but I'm like, hey, as somebody, I have a platform, I'm an influencer, and like, this is the experience that I had here. And like, this is the experience your regular customers are having here. And like, if you want to get people to come, or if you want to get people to do that, like, to purchase from you, you got to change something, right? And so like, I do provide a lot of reviews. I will email. I have absolutely sent product back. Like, if people have sent me something for free, or, or like a business has reached out and said they wanted me to come through and I didn't like it, I will tell them exactly why I didn't put it on the page, right?
Yeah.
And so I encourage people to do that. Like, hold them accountable by leaving a review, emailing them, letting them know like, hey, this was my experience. You don't have to be loud on social media to hold a business accountable, essentially. You don't have to maneuver like that. And like, I think that just is life in general, right? Like, because sometimes, hey, the person might have just had a bad day, right? And I'm not saying that that's always the case, right? I'm also not saying that that's the mentality you have to go in with either, right? Because you deserve respect wherever you go. Right. But I think it's important to remember that we're dealing with somebody's livelihood at the end of the day. Even if they're not, good stewards of their livelihood, right? Doesn't mean that we have to pile on. So I always encourage, leave that review, send that email, but you don't have to go blasting them on social media.
I agree. And I try to give multiple chances. So like, I'm like, okay, especially like if it's a restaurant or something. Exactly. I try to get, all right, first time, kind of off, but then but yeah, second, third time, and it still ain't right, then I can't do it no more. It's just it's not worth my time.
Exactly. Yeah. And there are places that you will not see me in. You absolutely will not see me in because of that. And I'm just like, and I won't say who they are, but literally there's some places.
No, name names. name names.
But literally there are just some places I won't be back. And so you just,
I need your list off camera.
I got you.
Because I know you really be at the places. So
we can absolutely talk about that. For sure. But yeah, there are just some places or some businesses, they will not get my money again. And that's just the unfortunate truth. Yeah.
For sure. And I love the intentionality, once again, in terms of the content that you do, because if I'm not mistaken, I believe you and your husband had was very intentional about Black vendors for y'all wedding. Yes. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so all of our vendors for our wedding were Black owned. Every single one of them. And
did y'all get married here or
no? So we got married in Barbados.
Okay.
Dope. We decided that I always knew I wanted a destination wedding. That didn't stop me from making sure that everybody was Black, But yeah, so essentially that was something that I've always wanted to do, was make my wedding Black owned, right? And so I knew that from the very beginning. And I had already started doing some sort of research, right? So like I knew who I was going to reach out to when it came to my wedding planner. Shout out Alexis Goodwin. I love her. If you guys ever need an event planner or wedding planner, top tier.
Dope.
She's amazing. And I told her what I wanted to do, and she understood my vision. I said, I want every vendor that I work with to be Black. And she said, I got you, no problems. And she made it happen. So like, even if there were like places where I couldn't fill in, she had some recommendations. But it actually isn't as hard as people think it is.
Yeah, it's really not.
It's not. Like, there are so many Black vendors in the wedding space, like, that people can tap into, you know? And it's just also, you know, sometimes you got to determine what your priority is, right? Like, hey, you might not necessarily get this thing, right, when you're doing, you know, if you're working with this person, but that's okay, right? Or like, hey, I was willing to spend a, you know, extra couple $100, right, to work with this person, right, because I wanted to work with, you know, this, you know, in that space. We were intentional about every single thing, and we were early. So like, we planned our wedding 2 years out, right?
Okay.
A lot of people are like the next year, but like, I knew, I was like, we're being intentional about this. Like, let's give ourselves some time to find these people to make sure this can actually happen. So we were very, very intentional. I, once again, did a lot of research, a lot of phone calls, a lot of, hey, like, this is what I'm trying to do. Are you aligned with this? Right. And so, yeah.
That's what's up. I had to ask because me and my wife, after we got married, we were very intentional about that too. So probably like 80 to 90% of our vendors were Black owned. We got married at Eastern Market.
Nice.
Well, no, we had our reception at Eastern Market. So obviously that ain't Black owned. But as far as like the church where we got our suits, where she got her dress, as far as like down to the food for the wedding, our coordinator, our decorator, like all Black, all DJ, everybody Black.
The person who made the person who made our invitations Black. Like, we were not playing. We were really not playing. And like, I think because of what I've been doing for so long, my family has naturally gravitated to doing those things. So like, when it came to like our party favors, right, or like even our bridal party, even the like my bachelorette party, all of the things, right, we're Black. Like, all of our like I guess corresponding events, right, we're leading into Black owned businesses, right? And so I will say, and this is kind of a pivot from that, but like, one of the things I've loved in this experience was watching how the people closest to me, right, not just strangers, but the people closest to me have changed their lifestyles as well. And I think that has been probably one of the most impactful, because you can influence people outside, right? Sometimes people are like, I don't have the support of my family and friends. I don't have this. I absolutely have 100% support of from my family and friends, and like, I lean into that. You know, I watch them and they'll like reach out to me. They'll be like, you suggested this product, I absolutely love it. I didn't even know they went and bought it, but like, just to know that you know, that they're maneuvering like that, right? You know, my mom being intentional, right? She's a runner. She'd be like, hey, I was doing some research and I found this Black owned company that does this for running, and you know, or like, I found this Black owned running group, or I found this, and like, you just start to see how it really does impact people, right? And so like, I like kind of get emotional when I talk about it, but like, I remember a time where people would laugh and be like, Black owned businesses, like, okay, right, whatever. And so like, to actually see them transforming their own lives, like, really is impactful for me.
And that's what it's all about. Like, that's why I started this platform, to be able to introduce people, spotlight Black owned businesses, creators, professionals who don't necessarily get the recognition that they always deserve, but definitely being able to give them that platform to be able to put them in that spotlight, and then also being able to get people to engage more with Black owned businesses. And now I'm starting to, you know, transition that into doing events as well, which we got to get you out to one. I've been trying to get you on the Black Business Bus Tour forever.
I'm so excited for your tours. Literally, if it wasn't, I told myself I'm going to slow down on traveling all the time, so I can be here more for events, because I realize some of the events, a lot of the times, the events I want to go to, I'm just not here. So yeah, I'm very ready. When's your next one?
So the next one, the Black Business Tour, is going to be in September. But then I'm going to do a shameless plug real quick, because on August 22nd, I'm going to be doing a Black Business Scavenger Hunt on the Avenue of Fashion. So when this episode comes out, it'll come out on the 21st. And then that Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m., Avenue of Fashion Black Business Scavenger Hunt. So I'm having people pull up, and then we have a good time. We got some prizes. I got some dope prizes for people, and yeah, it's gonna be an experience.
Oh, that's gonna be a time.
Yeah.
I gotta check my calendar, make sure I'm free. I don't think I'm doing a 5K that morning. I'm doing the 313 race, but I'm gonna try to slide
5K
through. 5K
don't take that long.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes. That's nothing. So yeah, no, absolutely, definitely send me the details on that.
I got you.
Yeah,
I got you.
And I'm gonna be here for sure.
Bet. So as far as Black Owned Bex, and as far as you overall, where do you see this going? What do you see in your crystal ball? What's on the horizon for you?
Okay, so deep down, Black Owned with Bex is going to be a movement. And when I say that, I mean that it's going to be a conglomerate of different businesses together, right? And I say that because I don't think I'll ever lose the content creation. I don't think I'll ever lose the event planning, right? But there are so many other spaces that I want to tap into to put other Black businesses on the map. And so I'm really leaning into, I really want to make Black Owned with Bex a household name.
Yeah.
And so that's the goal. The goal is to make Black Owned with Bex a household name. And when I say household name, I mean in whatever way it works for that person. So whether you're like, oh, I know her from, I know Black Owned with Bex from content, right? Or I know Black Owned with Bex because of her events, right? Or their events. I know Black Owned with Bex because they did this collaboration with this brand, right? And they have products in stores, right? Or like they've set up a space for products to be in stores, right? And so I see all of those things for Black Owned with Bex. And there was a point where I thought I had to limit what Black Owned with Bex was, or where I see it going. And I think that the possibilities are endless for me personally. Because I know what I have it's important, right? And it's useful and it's impactful. And I'm learning that, I can say that without feeling like I'm bragging about it, right? But like I actually am starting to see, right, the impact that it's having. And I think that's the goal, right? To continue to make an impact. So yeah, Black Owned with Bex it's going places.
For sure.
Yeah, and we're not limiting ourselves to what we're doing, but yeah.
And will we see any Black Owned with Bex products in the near future?
Yes, so that's the goal. I will say this year, because I know people have been asking, I will not be doing an advent calendar this year.
Okay.
But that's because we're working on I self-funded my advent calendar last year. Absolutely loved it. Loved the experience. But there are just some things that need to get out the way, like this whole 9-to-5 situation.
Okay. Okay.
And really not necessarily that, but just having the time to actually do it and execute it in the way that I want to.
Yep.
I learned a lot last year about it. Just like what that process is. And I think that starting fresh, I've already started working on it, but for 2027, but starting fresh and recognizing where I could grow from that. So Black Owned with Bex will absolutely be doing more collaborative showcases of products too, for in that way. So like our advent calendar included 10 different Black owned businesses last year.
Okay.
And really every product or everything that you see come out of Black Owned with Bex will be in some way to highlight another business. People ask me about merch. Maybe we'll get to a point where we'll have merch. I don't know yet. I would like to have some merch at some point, but really it's about collaborative items that showcase Black owned businesses for me. So that's really where what you're gonna start to see from us.
Love it. Yeah. And before I forget, before we get out of here, it's Black Business Month. August is Black Business Month. I've just learned this probably within the last 2-3 years. So just would love to know what that means to you to be able to have a month that is focused on Black owned businesses.
I think what I love the most about this month is, I know sometimes people are like, oh, it's performative, right? Or like sometimes we have these months, like people, have all these things to say about like Black History Month and, all these things. But I find that it's so important to have a Black Business Month because people don't realize how many Black businesses are out there. And I say that all the time. People don't know what they don't know. And to have a full month that's dedicated to the awareness of all that Black businesses have to offer, I think it's so important, right? Like, it's part of the reason why I did this challenge, right? People are focused on Black-owned businesses this month, right? And I think that that's part of like bringing awareness, right? That's the part of making sure that people know, right? Making sure that people are, like I said, have awareness. That to me is the biggest thing, right? And Black Business Month puts them on the map, right? Before, people didn't know about Black Business Month, right? They weren't focused on Black businesses, right? And I think it's also really helpful because I know we start talking about Black businesses in February. People talk about it all the time, and then there's a lull. And I think now, like, it's like, this is perfect. Going into the end of the year, we're reminding people, hey, Black businesses should be on the forefront of your mind as we step into the holiday season and all this stuff. It gets people's minds going. Yeah. I think, and I think it's definitely important. I know some people, like I said, people think it's performative. I think it's how you look at it.
I think it's an opportunity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely an opportunity.
Yeah. So where can the people tap in with you? If they ain't already following your page, if you got websites, whatever contact information you want to let the people know about, where can they find you?
Absolutely. So if you're looking to find me, you can find me on @blackownedw.bex. So Bex is spelled BECKS. You can find me at that handle on just about every platform, TikTok, Instagram, Threads. I do be yapping on Threads, y'all, so tap in with me there. I do have a website. It's blackownedwbex.com. We are currently revamping the website, but it's essentially going to be a hub of just businesses. You'll learn about, we're going to be blogging again. You'll see our upcoming events that are going on that people should know about. But that's really going to start to be our community hub because, like I said, social media is not our only venture. And then last but not least, you can absolutely email me at blackownedwbex.com if you ever want to reach out and talk about collaboration, partnerships, whatever. You can reach me there too. So yeah.
Love it. Love it. Well, we appreciate you for coming on and doing this special episode with us, especially during Black Business Month.
Absolutely.
And grateful for all the work that you're doing in our community and then adopting Detroit, Michigan as your own and continuing to stay here, intentionally staying here and supporting the businesses in the community of the people that look like us. So we appreciate you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I feel so welcomed in Detroit. I'm always so appreciative of just how I've been welcomed, like just with open arms, honestly. I really just love being here. I love just how it's continuing to thrive. And so it always feels really good when I can connect to a native Detroiter. So I really appreciate you for bringing me on here today. Thank you for doing the work that you're doing with supporting and highlighting Black-owned creators and just people, Black-owned entrepreneurs in general, right? I don't think that there's always a space for that. So we thank you so much for putting this on because I don't think people realize how important it is. I be telling people about your podcast. I'm like, hey, you talk about me? No, you need to tap into excuse me.
All good. We've been talking
Black
about
Friday's podcast. Yes. I've been talking so long.
Yeah,
sorry, excuse me.
good.
But I think it's really important what you're doing. So keep going. I want to encourage you to keep going.
Thank you.
Keep doing events. Let's collab on an event at some point.
We gotta figure that
for
out.
Sure. But yeah, no, you're doing the work and it's really good to see. Yeah, and I'm gonna make sure we gotta tap into because I'd love to highlight you on Black-owned Bex at some point too.
Say
so let's
less.
talk about it.
Say less.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Alrighty. Well, yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Everybody watching, listening. We're gonna tap in with y'all soon. Peace.